Darren Lizard Jr. here with my review of It. It is the first film adaptation of Stephen King's famed novel, and it is directed by Mama Helmer, Andy Muschietti, and it stars Jaden Lieberher, Bill Skarsgård, Jeremy Ray Tyler, Sophia Lillis, Finn Wolfhard, Wyatt Oleff, Chosen Jacobs, Jack Dylan Grazer, Nicholas Hamilton, and Jackson Robert Scott. The film revolves around a group of children who encounter a frightening ancient entity known as Pennywise that is terrorizing their town and threatening all of their lives. The children unite as one to defeat this creature and take back their town. It was a movie I was pretty excited about going in. The marketing was great, the casting was superb, and there seemed to be a great amount of care going into this adaptation. Real care, not that fake shit. So I went into this screening pretty excited and came out very, very pleased. It is a scary tale of violence and terror with a surprising heart of gold at the center of it. It surprised me with its wit and honesty along with its scares and vile villain. Andy Muschietti, who I wasn't that big of a fan of coming off of Mama. Mama wasn't really, I think the characters, and there were a couple of scares in the film that were pretty effective, but the characters, they were fine, but I think overall as a film, I wasn't that big on it. And going into this one, especially with Cary Fukunaga leaving the original project of it, I was just kind of against the fence of it. But I think Andy Muschietti does a fantastic job directing this film. The tone, the kids, all of the actors bring so much to it, especially the children. The children in this film, every single last one of the Losers Club, which the kids eventually call themselves. If you haven't read the book or seen the miniseries, the kids call themselves the Losers Club because they're all, they're losers, quote unquote. They're all bullied, and they're all made fun of and, going after by all these monstrous bullies that occupy Derry. And every single last one of them, there's not a weak link in that group. Everyone was so great in their roles. My favorite being Eddie, which it's hard to actually pick a favorite because how good these kids were. But my favorite being Eddie. He's the hypochondriac of the group. He's played by Jack Dylan Grazer, who does a fantastic job of bringing this character to life. I just loved his energy. I love how he's just this small kid. Really trying to be brave in some situations, and when he's not, it's still hilarious. How he goes on about germs and what he's allergic to is hysterical. It's just very, very heartwarming. Another great one was also Finn Wolfhard, which you would know from Stranger Things. He was fantastic. He's your friend that just constantly talks shit. He constantly has mom jokes. He's that 12-year-old with the constant mom jokes. He just learned them, and he's just going at it. Richie, yeah, that's what his name. He was fucking fantastic. I didn't really expect that from him. It just seeing, just from his from his role in Stranger Things, his character is a little bit more laid back a little bit. He's more of the stoic leader in that show, and in this one he's just the funny guy, and he does a fantastic job of playing that part. Sophia Lillis was great as Beverly. She definitely sold the bravery of that character, and also just rallying the troops of the Loser Club. Jeremy Ray Taylor was as Ben. He was fucking fantastic as well. He was great. I didn't really expect a lot from him. From the trailers, I honestly thought he was going to be someone who gets picked off pretty easily, but no, he's not. He's a big supporting character. His relationship with Beverly is very heartwarming, and just that kid, the kid plays it very, very well. He plays his character extremely well. He's kind of your go-to exposition guy, but how he explains the exposition and how he explains the information that he's giving, you're never bored. Like he's kind of like a Dan Aykroyd with exposition. When he's talking, you're listening, and it's interesting. Jaden Lieberher, which you saw from Booker Henry, he's also very good in the film. He plays a kid with a stutter. He plays a kid with a stutter. He has a great arc with what happens to his brother Georgie, which I won't. It's a mild spoiler, but Georgie is the first victim of it, and yeah, he just has a great arc trying to come to terms with what happened to his brother, and also leading the group, and really, like Beverly, rallying everybody to go after this thing and put an end to it and save their town. While Olaf hadn't chosen Jacobs, they were both great as Mike and Stanley. Mike comes in a little late, and I wish he came in a little earlier, but he comes in a little late, and he stands his ground, and really and he steals a certain scene, which I can't spoil, but he does a great job throughout, and and also Stanley, what Olaf does with Stanley, you understand where he's coming from. He's definitely the most fearful out of the Losers Club, and what they do to this character, especially setting up some further things, you're going to understand what happens later on, and I thought they did a great job with it. I mean, all these kids, the chemistry between these kids and how they interacted, you really felt like you were looking in on a friendship. And that is, in a horror film, that is the most important thing, in my opinion, in a horror film, is making sure your audience cares about your characters. So when they're in these dire situations, you're with them and you're worried about them and you care, you give a shit. It's not just blood for blood's sake. It's not just violence for violence sake. You really care about them, and this movie really took the time to set up each and every character. Each and every character has their own moment with the villain, with Pennywise, and they have their moment of fear. All of their fears, and it's some of their fears aren't even like, it's not like spoon fed. You have to really think about, what is this person afraid of, and this movie does a great job. Andy Muschietti, the writers, do a great job really going into these characters and really giving us some meat to understand them. And even the bullies, get fucking screen time and why they're doing what they're doing. That was also great. And the bullies are fucking monsters. They're monsters within themselves too, but they're also compelling. So yeah, all the human characters in this movie are fantastic. And it really surprised me. It really did, because in a way, this movie almost feels like a kid's movie, which I'll get into later. But it almost feels like a kid's movie. It has the beats of a children's film. It's just, you have a killer clown in the mix of it. But, sorry, that was my phone. But yeah, it's almost like a Pixar film with scares, which I really enjoyed. But speaking of the scares, the main attraction of sorts, Pennywise, Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise, is fantastic. He's amazing. He's just the embodiment of fear. What Bill Skarsgård was able to do with this role, and what Andy Muschietti was able to get out of him as a performance, was so enjoyable to watch. There's scenes where he goes from a crazy Ronald McDonald to a even more crazy Heath Ledger's Joker. He is just fantastic. He's very, very frightening. He's funny, and he's been funny in a way too. When he goes up against these kids, you feel for them, and he's having the time of his life playing this character. You really see that. So it's just, he's a very, very frightening creature. That is definitely going to go down in the horror history books. And what they do with his eyes, it's just he's almost like a train wreck. You can't. It's horrible when it happens, but you can't really look away from it. And that's what I really just really admired about that role. And just some of the scares, I'll get into it more. Some of the scares didn't disappoint me a little, and I'll get into that with my cons. But just sticking on pros. Yeah, some of the scares are just so fucking fun, and it's how they zoomed in on his face and stuff. Especially there's one scare, which if you've seen the film, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen the film, you're going to know what I'm talking about. But Egg Boy, when they do that was freaky. And then what they do with the film strip, which you've seen from the trailer, that is another super creepy moment. I think that's something else that's just going to go down in the horror history books. And then what some of they do when they go into this certain house, they do cool things when they do confront Pennywise head on. It's a very interesting fight, and it's an interesting way of how they display that. Especially, they are kids, but they introduce it in a way where it is logical for them to be able to fight this creature. But getting into, as I said before, getting into some of my cons, some of the things I didn't like about the film, which there wasn't much. And even some of the things I didn't like about the film aren't glaring issues. But some of the things I didn't like about the film, like I said, some of the scares are just a little typical with horror movies. Some tropes that are just a little typical, like, the shaking head or running toward the camera or something like that. Some of that was just, it's not, all that scary. There's also a love triangle in the movie. I won't say between which characters. If you've read the book, you probably know, and if it's not in the book, then I guess you don't know. I don't know. I've never read the book, but I just don't like love triangles myself. I don't care for them. So that just kind of took me out of it, because somebody just always gets screwed over, and the guy who usually gets screwed over doesn't deserve it to be screwed over. But yeah, I just don't really care for love triangles. And also another thing that I really didn't like with Pennywise is some of the things. I know he's taunting these kids, but there's some moments where I'm just like, why didn't you just take him or her out? Like, why didn't you just do it? So that was another thing that was kind of odd to me about some of his choices. And also, also with Pennywise, they didn't really explain why or where he came from. I guess they're saving that for the next part, because this film is being split into two. So, I guess maybe I kind of would have liked them to. I mean, you can definitely see it as a way where it's unnecessary to what's going on, because it's the kid's story and what he is and where he came from. I could agree with the argument that it's not really necessary to the story, but at the same time, why kind of, from the surface value of what I know from the story, what I kind of like about it is the mythology about it, because Stephen King has fantastic mythology with his characters, and with his story. So I would have kind of liked to explore that a little bit more, and explore, like, why has he been torturing Derry Maine this long, and why does he want children, and why does he want that? But I guess we'll get answers down the road. But I would have just liked to see some mythology explored within this film. Last but not least, my last negative really is logic. Some of the logic of these characters. I think all of these kids are pretty smart, and within the same situation, you may make the same mistakes they made. But there's just some things when they start piecing the puzzles together about what they're fighting. And then when they confront that after the puzzle pieces together, the puzzle is together, they still fall for certain things. And it's just like, guys, it's pretty obvious. You know what's going on. Don't fall for that. Don't do that. You guys have already stated that you kind of get the idea of why this certain thing is happening. So don't walk into that trap. But, like I said with the last thing, argument can be made. They are kids. This is scary. But, I just expect, if you already introduced the idea that, so if that's happening, then if A's happening, that means B's not happening or whatever. I just wish someone would have, I just wish they went about a certain thing better. Trying to tread lightly on the spoilers here. But overall, it is a pretty damn good film. I really enjoyed this movie all the way through. It has what I want from horror movies, which is character. It's fantastic character, because character equals stakes, and stakes, that's what I care about. I want to care about characters when they're thrown into these dire situations, and it does that perfectly. I want to see these characters again, and I know moving forward in part 2 is going to be about them, but it's going to be them as adults, and we're going to have new actors, but I know there's still going to be flashbacks to stuff that we didn't see in this film. And yeah, I want to see all these actors and actresses again. I can't wait to see what actors and actresses take on the roles of these characters, and how they interact when they're adults. But yeah, Andy Muschietti and co have done a fantastic job of adapting this material into something that is truly good. This isn't just your average jump scare fest. This is a good film. This is a really good film with good character and good story and a world that you can really get absorbed. It has a lot of heart. It has a lot of laughs. I didn't mention this movie is fucking hilarious. It takes its time. It does a good job of having the levity as well as the horrifying violent moments that are sprinkled throughout. But yeah, it's such a good film, and it also feels like a throwback, and it's also really cool that it's kind of like a kid's movie in a way. It's a lot of goodness roll into one, and I think everyone's really going to enjoy this. New Line is doing a great job. I really enjoyed Annabelle Creation, and I think a lot of people, me myself, and I think a lot of other people are really going to enjoy it. It was a fantastic screening experience. If you're a fan of the book, if you're a fan of the miniseries, I think you are in for a great ride with this film. Go out and see it. It is fantastic. I don't know how many times I've said it this podcast, but yeah, it's, go out and see it. It's great. Highly recommended. This is definitely a home run. And this is a fantastic Stephen King adaptation. You don't get many of those, and every time you do, you should cherish them. So yeah. So this was my review of it. Are you guys excited for it? Are you guys checking it out this weekend? Have you seen it? Have you seen it at any screening? Please let me know in the comment sections below. Also, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you like hearing me talk about movies, please hit that subscribe button. Come join the conversation. I'll be glad to have you. Also, you can check me out on Till the Last Credit. That's another podcast channel I co-run. You guys can check out a few videos over there. And I'm also going to be doing another It review with Miller Farrow, and I'm going to be doing a spoiler review for It this weekend with Will Abbott and Dylan Boyd. We're all four going to get together and pretty much hash out what we thought about the film with some spoilers. So please head over to check out that channel. So with all that being said, I'm Darren Jr. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll catch you guys next time.